For today's review, let's look at the concept of isotopes and how that plays into the atomic mass that we read on the periodic table. Now, in any sample of an element, say this nice crystal of solid magnesium, we will find that different atoms have a slightly different mass. They are isotopes of magnesium. So not every atom of magnesium is identical. Isotopes are atoms of the same element that have different masses or mass numbers. Okay? This means that since they are the same element, they have to have the same number of protons, but they do have different numbers of neutrons. And we never really think about electrons and anything involving mass because the mass of an electron is incredibly, incredibly tiny. And when we look at isotopes, we often write them as an atomic symbol, which represents a particular atom or particular isotope. And that atomic symbol looks just like the regular atomic symbol. We write the 2 or 1 letter element abbreviation. And then we put the mass number, the amount of mass in the nucleus in the upper left corner, and the atomic number in the lower left. So for example, here I have sodium. If I want to do an atomic symbol here, sodium, this particular isotope has a mass number of 23. And since it's a sodium atom, it always has the same atomic number of 11 down here at the bottom. And a lot of times chemists don't even really bother writing the atomic number because that's implied by the fact that the symbol is Na. I don't really have to say that it's got 11 protons because it's sodium. All sodium atoms have 11 protons. So sometimes you'll just see people write this as Na-23. That dash communicating that the particular isotope I'm looking for has a mass of 23. The 11 is kind of implied in the fact that it is, after all, a sodium atom. So specifically, I can get information about the number of protons, neutrons, and electrons. In first year or probably in middle school, you talked about the mnemonic here. For ape man, the atomic number is equal to the number of protons, is equal to the number of electrons in any neutral element. And of course, the mass number minus the atomic number gets me the number of neutrons, because protons and neutrons are the particles with mass in an atom. What we see on the periodic table is the atomic mass, or the average atomic mass. That's what's listed in the box on the periodic table. And that gives the mass of an average atom, but that incorporates all of those different isotopes. So in fact, we find that there is never actually an average sodium atom. I'll never find something with a mass of 22.99 because that average takes into account all of the different isotopes. So it's not going to be the same or equal to the mass number of any of the isotopes. It's going to be in between all of them. How they get that is by doing something called a weighted average. And a weighted average is a little different than the average that you did in elementary school, because a weighted average takes into account the fact that some numbers are more important or more common than others. So for example, in a sample of an element, you'll have one isotope generally that is the most common. And so if I have to sit there and count atoms, most of them will have that common isotope, and that will influence the mass heavily. It's not really heavy. It's just that's how mathematicians talk about the importance of that number, that it weights heavily in the average. It's a little inconvenient for us as chemists using a mathematical term to actually talk about something with mass. Each isotope does have some influence on the average, but the least common isotopes shouldn't change that average very much, because if your isotope is very uncommon in a sample of an element, you might only find 1 or 2 or 3 atoms with that mass. So it shouldn't change the mass of the weighted average very much. And again, the weighted average is not the same as the mass number of any of the individual isotopes. It's the average of all of the isotopes. So to calculate the average atomic mass, you're going to need two pieces of information. The abundance, or percent abundance, that tells you how common the particular isotope is. And of course, you need the mass of the individual isotopes. And sometimes you'll see that given down to several decimal places. That's because protons and neutrons have a very slightly different mass, but don't worry about it. Just use the number that they give you in the problem. So once I know that, I follow the same formula. And here's what it looks like in math terms. I take the sum, the big sigma here is the mathematical symbol for summing, of all of these things, all the way up until I, when I run out. So I'm going to do this process, take the mass of the isotope times the abundance of the isotope, and I'm going to do that over and over and over until I run out of isotopes. Then I'm going to add all of those up. That's what that mathematical language is saying. I multiply these things together till I get all the terms, and then the big sigma says that I sum all of those terms. So let's see how this works in a real process. Here's chlorine. Okay? The atomic mass of chlorine on the periodic table is not a whole number because it is the weighted average of all of the isotopes. And there are, in fact, two isotopes of chlorine, chlorine 35 and chlorine 37. And the little diagram here shows you that there's quite a lot more chlorine 35 than there is chlorine 37. And before I do this with the math formula, I really want to think about estimating this, because a lot of times I could estimate to get a good answer for a multiple choice question, or I can always do the does it make sense test on my answer at the end. So here's what I'm going to think about if I'm trying to estimate this. Most of these atoms are 35. So that implies that that is pushing the heaviest on my average. So my average should be close to 35. Then I'm going to look at what is the other isotope. The other isotope is 37. Okay. If it were 50-50, exactly the same, 35 and 37, then they would have exactly the same weight on the average, and the mass would be 36, be right in between the two, just like a regular average from elementary school. But in this case, the 35 is pushing a lot more than the 37. So it's going to be bigger than 35. It's being pulled larger than 35 because this isotope is larger than 35. But it's not going to be all the way to 36. 36 would require a 50-50 split. In fact, if I look at this, I don't have a 50-50 split. I have a 25% split here. So if I think, well, 50-50 would be 36, then 75-25 will be about 35 and a half. Because instead of going all the way 1 unit, I only go up half of the way to that 1 unit. So that'd be 35 and a half. And in fact, it is about 35 and a half. Heavily chlorine 35, but it's pulled up a little bit by that Cl37. So if we were going to do it mathematically, we would use that weighted average formula. I use the atomic mass and the percent of each isotope to calculate the percentage, or to calculate the contribution, and then I add those together. So chlorine 35 has a mass of 35.97. I'm going to multiply that by the abundance, not the percent. So I'm going to change that to a decimal, 0.7576. Do the math here, that's about 26.49 atomic mass units. And I just need to look at the unit in the problem and use it consistently. 36.97 AMUs. I change that to a decimal, that's 0.2424. 36.97 times 0.2424 is 8.961. And then I add those two numbers together to get the sum, 35.45 AMUs. Then you just really have to look at what is the unit in the problem to determine what unit you should be using in your work. So here's another example. This is a little bit more of kind of what we're going to be doing in class, because instead of just handing us the percent abundance, we need to calculate the percent abundance. And that's what we use mass spectrometry data for, which we'll be talking about in AP Chem. So neon has two major isotopes, 20 and 22. And we now know we have a sample of 250 total neon atoms. And out of that total, 225 will be neon 20, and 25 will be neon 22. So we can't do this directly. We need to calculate the abundances first, and that's a percent problem, just like every percent problem. We have the 225 of a total of 250. Well, a percent is the part I'm interested in divided by the total. Well, that's equal to about 90%. And that makes sense because 25 of 250, or 25 divided by 250, is, of course, 0.1, 10%. Since there's only two isotopes here, I could have gotten that by saying, I know they have to add up to 1 or 100% and subtracted the decimal, and I would have gotten the same number here. Now that I have that, I can use that weighted average formula. So the weighted average formula is abundance times the mass. So for neon 20, the abundance we just calculated is 0.9 times the mass, which this time is given to us in grams per mole, and that's fine. We just use grams per mole because that's what they gave us in the problem. So that's 17.99 grams per mole. For neon 22, I'm going to do the same idea, 0.1 times 21.991 grams per mole. That gets me 2.20. And the weighted average is summing these two things. And I get 20.19 grams per mole. One of the most common mistakes people make with a weighted average is they take this number and then divide it again. Don't do that. You already took care of the division step when you were dealing with making this a abundance or a decimal. Remember, when you calculated that, you did that by dividing by 250. So don't do it again at the end. Okay. So there's how to use a weighted average to calculate the average atomic mass, incorporating all of the different isotope data.